All right, so Brighton doing the double over Chelsea, won in the FA Cup. They kicked Chelsea out of the FA Cup in the 4th round and then went on to beat Chelsea again in the league at the Amex. Chelsea's next game is at the Villa Park. They take on Aston Villa, a side that are also looking to get into the Champions League places. So just do justice for me on this. Maresca's side are looking to bounce back after that horrible display against Brighton. Yeah. 0 shots on target.
Yeah, surprisingly. But I think this will be their game. And I know this is not what most people expect because we see Villa, they seem to be in better form. They are playing a lot better than Chelsea. But Villa are very, what's the word I'm looking for? There's not a lot of players available in the back line. And one of the few players they have is Axel Disasi, and he's on loan from Chelsea. Yes, so he's not going to be able to play. So when I look at that and the type of centre-backs, the centre-back partnership we might see from Aston Villa, it might be 2 midfielders. It might be a centre-back and a midfielder. We've seen Tyrone Mings has come back, but who's going to partner Tyrone Mings? Because it might be Boubacar Kamara. He can play centre-back, but he's one of their better midfielders. So you now move him back. You are wondering to yourself, would that impact their ability to play? They've played a midweek. They might be a bit tired. Chelsea had their midweek off. So I think this game comes at a bad time for Villa. I think maybe if they had a few of their centre-backs come back so that, Disasi wouldn't have to play and they could put someone in there. You are not playing after a midweek. I think Aston Villa win it all day. But these things just bring some doubt into my mind. I still think Aston Villa are slight favourites, but I would not be surprised if Chelsea cause an upset because just the tiredness, the lack of bodies at the back, it makes Villa very vulnerable in this game. Okay. And very, very likely to concede some goals. And whether they can score on the other end is also questionable because, again, when teams are tired, you don't know what they can get out of them. They have a lot of interesting attackers, a lot of depth. We've spoken about Chelsea at the back, disastrous. There's no direction, there's no leadership at the back. So we know their defense is bad, but how much energy do Villa have? What if their game is 0-0 at 60 minutes? Would they still have the energy to keep pushing for their goal? Or would they tire out? Because we've seen, they've not won. You
disagree.
You know why I'm saying this? They've not won a single game after a Champions League game this season. Yeah. So it shows that when they play midweek and they have to play on the weekend,
they don't recover well.
They've not recovered well. So for me, those things just make this game a lot more tricky for Villa than it would have been if, let's say, they had the whole week. Because if they had the whole week to prepare, I would have been sitting here telling you that, the Villa will win it because that's how poor Chelsea have been over the last few weeks. But knowing how badly their recovery is, I'm not sure that they can get it done, truth be told. So that's what really bothers me.
So Chelsea to win?
I think this is a tough one. I think it's a score draw more likely, but I would say I slightly favour Chelsea, even though Villa are the favourites. But I think that Chelsea will pull an upset for sure. Can make it difficult for Villa.
Yeah, where do you stand on this? 2 teams looking to get into the top 4.
Oh yeah,
I'm
leaning with an Aston Villa close win because of the things that Susu highlighted. Yeah. And 60 minutes. Let's say the game is barren, goalless. Players are a little bit tired from Aston Villa because they got involved in the midweek encounter against Liverpool. But let's say Oli Watkins is tired. Let's say Marcus Rashford is tired. Let's say Marco Asensio is tired. Those were the starting 3 against Liverpool. We saw in that game what Unai Emery brought off the bench. Yeah. He brought on Daniel Marlin. He brought on Jordan Ramsey. And those guys plus Morgan Rogers. Yeah, I think it's more than enough firepower against that vulnerable Chelsea backline. So I'm not too worried. With Boubacar Kamara very likely partnering Tyrone Mings at the back. I think they've done it a couple of times. And now, back in the day, it was a bit chaotic all over the place. But looking at the injury issues that they've had to deal with and the fact that he's played it a couple of times, I think he'll be able to hold his own against more or less a strikerless Chelsea team. And that's why I fancy them, Villa to win, knowing very well that even in defensive midfield or in that double pivot system that Unai Emery likes to operate, you have John McGinn available, partnering Yuri Tillemans. So I'm not too bothered about too much about fatigue. I think they have just enough to be able to get past Chelsea. But it will be close though. Okay. But I see them winning that one.
All right. Let's hear from you, the Chelsea fans out there, whether you really agree with Jamie in test submission. I know there's one in here who doesn't agree. He's actually bad, not to talk about Chelsea, but that's just by the way. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get up to you the big game of week 26. This is the Premier League preview show on Channel 1 TV. I am Gabi Ofe. We'll be back after this.